Konnichiwa, my name is Logan Charles Luna, and this is going to be my review for Legend of Korra Book 4, Balance. Book 4 actually starts off with a time skip. So Korra is still absent as the Avatar, and the Air Nation has taken a lot of the responsibilities that Korra usually would take care of. The characters are in very different places than they were at the end of book 3, especially Mako. So Mako hasn't been a cop for a while. He's mainly been defending and serving as a bodyguard to the future king of the Earth Kingdom, who's a really, stereotypical spoiled rich kid. He's snobby and thinks he's better than everyone. He also constantly hits on every woman that he deems attractive. And it's kind of a just real cringe feeling watching him. And you understand the suffering that Mako's been going through the last few years. Asami has been trying to fix all of her father's mistakes. She's done a lot of good work repairing the city, changing the infrastructure of everything. Now that the spirit vines are a permanent fixture of Republic City. Then we kind of cut to what's going on with Bolin. So Bolin has joined Kuvira in reunifying the Earth Kingdom. And at first Bolin thinks he's doing the right thing. Of course, that's why he joined up with her. And Bolin's reasoning is he doesn't want the Earth Kingdom to fall apart, like what happened when he saw the fall of Ba Sing Se. And he doesn't want people to undergo the kind of poverty he saw his own family experience in the lower ring. This, of course, causes a big rift between Bolin and Opal, who already started drifting apart because of their long-distance relationship. And now it's really pushing them away. They make it clear once Bolin rescues a town and the airbenders were unable to secure any food or supplies for them. So they had no choice but to sign over against their will to the services of Kuvira's army. Now, Kuvira is supposed to give up her power, but as history shows you, anyone that comes into great power usually doesn't want to give it up. So Kuvira instead announces the United Earth Kingdom. I think it's United Earth Empire. And she says she's not going to give it up, and she's ready to fight anyone who gets in her way. This, of course, causes a huge rift between her and Bolin. And Varric is actually working on a secret project for Kuvira to harness the energy of the spirit vines. Varric realizes how dangerous this power is and no one should have it, so he tries to destroy it. Kuvira then kind of forces him to work on the project anyway. And Bolin and Varric decide to escape Kuvira's clutches. This backfires. And then Julie apparently betrays Varric, but it's all part of a plan. So now we get to what's going on with Korra. Korra lied to her family and told them that she went back to Republic City 6 months ago. This isn't the case. Korra actually went on a soul-searching journey, but it's not like a standard, I'm trying to find myself soul-searching journey. It's more of a I'm trying to find a reason to live journey, which is really dark. And Korra is dealing with the aftermath of the fight with the Red Lotus. She's really scared and unsure of herself, and her PTSD is just getting worse every day, to the point where she feels like she can't fulfill her duties as the Avatar. And Korra just falling apart and being extremely vulnerable, it's really heart-wrenching to see. especially when Katara is trying to help her walk again. She lashes out at Katara and she feels useless, which is something Korra's never felt before in her life. And she's put so much pressure on herself to be the Avatar that now she views herself as obsolete since the Air Nation has taken on a lot of her old responsibilities. And the world seems to be going on fine without her. This gets brought up later again when Korra, during her soul-searching journey, runs into Toph. So we get old Yoda Master Toph living in a swamp. Again, the Star Wars references and just parallels with Star Wars, incidental as they might be, serve as a way to really help explain what Korra is to people who are just getting into Avatar: The Last Airbender. So ironically enough, Avatar is supposed to be the prequels where you see everything and how it lays out, compared to Korra, and her journey definitely lines up more with the original Star Wars trilogy than Aang's journey did in the beginning, because Aang had one overall mission and one overall goal, whereas Korra, it feels like the fight never ends. It feels like she's just going back and forth. And during her training with Toph in the swamp, Toph brings up a good point that her enemies had good ideas, but they were all extremists. They all lacked balance. And that's what Korra needs to set her apart from the same mistakes that her enemies had, which was not having balance. Korra still has Mercury inside of her from her fight with Zahir. Toph gives her some tough love, and Korra has to metal bend the Mercury out herself. Once she accomplishes this, she feels like she's ready to take on Kuvira. At first, she wants a diplomatic solution to all this, but then Kuvira, being the big bitch that she is, just straight up challenges Korra to a fight, and Korra loses. Because Korra's PTSD isn't gone. She feels like she conquered something, but all she did was get her head back in the game. She still and will always have psychological damage from the trauma that she experienced in book 3. Korra then realizes she needs to face Zahir and face her fear. She goes to where he's being held, and she really talks down to Zahir because he wants to give her a high and mighty speech of how he successfully injured the Avatar. But then Korra brings up the fact that after he destroyed the Earth Kingdom, somebody worse took over, and he basically accomplished nothing with his little coup and revolution. Defeated from this notion, Zahir agrees to help Korra cross into the spirit world and successfully reconnect with Rava. This then causes Korra to get her mojo back, and she realizes that the trauma is something she's going to live with for the rest of her life, and that's okay. Feeling vulnerable and feeling weak is okay, and the chosen one complex that she has is her struggle. I've mentioned before how other shows, and mainly Steven Universe Future, address the chosen one complex and really the downsides of being the chosen one after you complete your mission. You just experience trauma after trauma as a chosen one in almost any story, and dealing with that on a daily basis, it really gets to you. And someone who was starting off the series extremely confident in her abilities, proud to be the Avatar, Korra's just been broken down throughout the whole series, and it's been a hell of a ride. But now we kind of limp to the finish line, So Bolin and Varric create a bomb to help them escape Kuvira's clutches. Later on, Bolin wants to make right with Opal, so he goes on a secret mission with her aunt, Chief Beifong, to go save her family. This results in Toph joining the rescue mission, and Bolin, he has a big fanboy moment where he's losing his stuff over just being near Toph. Then he kind of feels down because of what's going on with Opal and how he feels like he can't win her back and that he's a crappy metal bender. Then, off a slight hand remark that Toph just feels like her girls are inferior metal benders compared to her, Lin really has a breakdown and confronts Toph on a lot of the issues that they have being a mother and daughter. Toph then actually reveals the name of Sue's father and just feels like it didn't work out. That's the only explanation she gives for her father not really being part of Lin's life. And there's definitely issues that aren't resolved in this series and in this book. But it feels like they've taken the first step. Again, like Lin and Sue did in book 3. Toph is extremely impressed, though, that Bolin is a lava bender and mentions that it's a very rare skill. After they save the Beifong family and Julie lets them know that the cannon is part of an invasion attack that they're going to do on Republic City. Julie was a double agent the whole time. She reunites with Varric. Varric doesn't give her the response she was looking for. And Varric realizes that he's definitely taken Julie for granted. The invasion on Republic City actually happens a week early. And instead of just busting out a big laser cannon, Kuvira decides to put it on a mech. And she walks down to Republic City demanding their surrender. And of course, Korra, she doesn't take this, well. And she and Team Avatar put up a fight, but they just can't seem to beat this destructive force. So Asami's father steps in and helps them put a plasma cutter on these flying mech suits that they create. Asami's father has been reaching out and he's been trying to reconcile with his daughter. And he feels that he's made a grave error, and in trying to avenge one family member, he's lost another family member. And he doesn't want Asami to hate him for the rest of her life. And he sees the impact he's done on her. So once he finally has a moment to make good, he takes every opportunity to make sure Asami respects him again. Asami brings up the fact that now she's definitely forgiven him, but he wants to make sure that Asami looks at him with pride. So they're in a very difficult situation where they still need time to cut through the mech's armor, but they're getting attacked now that the rest of Team Avatar can't hold the mech off for long. Varric and Julie escape, and Asami's pod is released due to her father injecting her out of the suit. He manages to cut through the mech, and he gets killed in an attack. Now Asami feels lost, and she definitely needs Korra now more than ever. During Korra's rehab, Korra refused to write back to anyone who was just trying to check up on her, except for Asami. And this aspect of it is really pushing forward the idea that Korra is bisexual. And she and Asami definitely have a thing. It started off in book 3, but studio interference and Nickelodeon just being afraid of standards and practices and the uproar of representation in the media. So Nickelodeon very heavy-handedly put a stop to any show of affection between Korra and Asami that was more than, oh, you're my friend and we have a very close connection. We're just friends. But in the end, after Korra takes down the mech with help from Bolin and Mako, and of course the Beifong sisters, they manage to have a wedding at the end where it definitely felt like they might have wanted a Korrasami, as the ship is called, moment at the wedding of Julie and Varric, where Varric very appropriately says, Julie, will you do the thing now and forever or for the rest of my life? And she agrees. I felt like that was like a very sweet moment between them because Julie and Varric have had one of the most interesting relationships throughout the show. And Bolin officiating the wedding was very touching. And at the end, Korra and Asami have a moment where they just talk about having a vacation. Because that's what friends do. They go on romantic vacations together. The show ends with Korra opening a new spirit world and Asami and her going through it on their vacation, and they're just break from the world. They stare deeply into each other's eyes and don't kiss. The camera pans up and just ends the series right there. Very underwhelming, and like I said before, Book 4 of Legend of Korra just kind of limps to the finish line. There was a lot of wind taken out of Korra's sails, especially getting taken off TV and not having a proper spot on Nickelodeon. Book 4 got relegated to being a website exclusive and trying to drive people to go over to the Nickelodeon app. And definitely, Korra didn't get the ending she deserved. Korra didn't get the ending people wanted. And it's very indicative of Korra's problem from the beginning. Korra was a compromise for season 4 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was never going to be what the fans wanted. It was never going to be what the creators wanted. And it was forced to be a show that was very out of place from the whole world of Avatar. And it was never meant to be a show. All in all, Book 4, it's another strong season, but compared to Book 3 of The Legend of Korra, it falls short in a lot of areas. And Book 3, to me, and definitely to a lot of other people, is still considered to be the best part of The Legend of Korra. So this part gets 4 out of 7 stars. It's definitely better than Book 1 and Book 2. However, it falls short on a lot of its own plot points and ideals that it brings up throughout this part. If you want to see me finish this fan art, follow my social media, Twitter and Instagram, LCLX25. If you're interested in more behind the scenes artwork, if you want to see me complete an entire artwork, then please go join my Patreon, where you get other rewards such as video shoutouts at the end of these. You get to vote on fan arts I do later on. You also get special requests at higher tier. This has been my review for Book 4 of The Legend of Korra Balance, and sayonara.